Welcome back to the Face Off podcast. This is episode something. This is episode, I've lost track of what number episode this is. It's been a real miasma. I don't have the central magnetic force of Face Off holding me to the earth, so I'm just floating 300 miles up in the atmosphere, trying to even find a reason to stick around here without flying off into the universe and just exploring the further reaches of space. You know, just get on off the planet. That's what they say about deep space travel, is if we want to do that, we got to leave our bodies behind. To get rid of this muck, these meat suits, and just evaporate on out into the ether. This is like week 19 of missing out on Face Off, just not watching it. I just literally don't have the time. I have the time either to do the podcast or to watch Face Off, and not both of them. It's a conundrum. Because which one is more important? Is it the ritual of the thing, or is it the thing itself? That's why I used to smoke crystal meth, and there was a whole ritual around it. And I tried Adderall later on, and I was like, this is just like meth, except for without the fun and without the ritual and without the what's that word? The sort of euphoric. There's a bit of euphoria, just a touch, and so it was like, why do it this way? Why not get in there and get nasty? You got to get nasty, you know. That's part of it. That's part of the vice, is that it's gross, it's funky, you know. It's good stuff. I'm not saying you should go smoke crystal meth, but if you haven't, why not? Give it a try. We all should. It's one of those things. I come across people sometimes that act like tough guys and everything, and I'm like, you should try getting addicted to crystal meth and getting off, and then talk about how tough you are, you fucking nerd. You don't know shit about shit, because that's hard. It takes some effort. I didn't even realize I was addicted till I was off of it for like 4 or 5 years, and it was like, oh, I'm still thinking about that all the time. I still want to get in there and stuff. It's weird. It's hard to what's the word? It's hard to diagnose an issue when you're in the midst of the issue. Talking about bipolar last time, if you're in the midst of bipolar, it's hard to say, hey, I'm bipolar. It takes somebody on the outside. That's what caught me, was that I was suddenly around people. I was around Angela and Alex and Audrey all day, every day. And it was like, oh, I'm fucked up. What do you know? On my own, it's cool, but together with a bunch of other people, fucked the fuck up. It's crazy. So this podcast today, I don't have anything to talk about. That's how I do it. That's how I show up. You know, some other people, some other amateurs in the podcast game, people that don't know shit about shit, you know, they show up and they're like, hey, we got a plan. We have a format. We got guests. We got ideas about what to talk about. Look, we got news segments probably and all this stuff. I'm like, no, I'm just going to sit in a room where my pug is throwing up currently in the corner and just wing it from the top of my head, even though I don't take in any media, any news. I don't talk to anybody. All I do is eat and clean, and I talk to Angela, and I play Borderlands 2, which is 6-7 years old now. 8 years old. It's not cutting edge. It's not new, and I'm not taking anything away from it. I don't quite like that game as much as I could, because I can't kill everybody. I want to kill everybody, not just the people they want me to kill. The other problem with that game is, when I kill somebody, I want them to stay dead. I don't want them to come back again 40 times. That pisses me right the fuck off. What are you doing? Get out of here. You're dead. You're dead. I already killed you. You're finished. You're done for. But I do like it. I like Borderlands. It's a good game. I was trying to think of why I like that game. This is Borderlands 2, by the way, which I was playing Borderlands 1 before the PlayStation broke, and I liked Borderlands 1 better than I liked Borderlands 2 at first, but now I'm not even sure because it's been so long since I played Borderlands 1. But 2 is pretty good. It's pretty big. I've beat the game, but just still continually leveling up for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, I'm sure there's some reason for it. Excuse me. Jesus Christ. What was I talking about with Borderlands? Borderlands 2. I think the reason why I like that game, and maybe why I like video games in general, which I don't like a lot of them, it takes a little something to get into it, you know, it's got to have a little flair to it or something, but I like the fact that I know what to do to make money. It's not hard. I just go out there and do some quests and it's good to go. In this world, the real world, I don't have any clue. I don't know how to do shit. I don't know how to make anything that's valuable, that's valued. And it's like I could probably go out there and be like, hey, if you need somebody killed, I'll kill them. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to kill people. I don't even want to beat people up. I don't want to cause people discomfort or pain or anything through any physical means. Only through emotional and mental means. Only through the podcast means do I want to cause anybody discomfort. And not even then. I don't know. That's the whole thing. That's that thing. That has happened to me a few times where and I encourage you to, if you're still listening, but there's part of you that's like, why am I still listening to this? It's been slipping ever since episode 8, which was a high point. And I think episode 8 or 6 was a high watermark for this podcast, and it's gone downhill and turned into just mealy-mouthed garbage at this point, and I don't know what I'm doing here. I encourage you to not listen anymore. Just give it up and come back later. That's what I do. I gave up a whole bunch of podcasts recently because I was like, you know what? I don't really like listening to these. It's like when I download the new episode and it just sits there in the queue and I'm like, well, I guess I'll listen to that one. I don't really want to do it, but I guess I will. And you know what? I was like, fuck it. I'm going to get out of there. If this podcast isn't strong enough to make it without me, then that's what happens. That's fate. We got to let it go into the wind and call it good. I did that with a bunch of them. I'm not going to name names, but the ones that I really like are the fun ones. I like for the fun podcasts that are kind of goofy. I like Kill Tony and Doug Loves Movies and stuff. Those ones that are just sort of unpredictable, you know, kind of goofball, that are funny. That, you know, have people saying funny shit. Man, this is making me wish that this podcast was funnier and more goofy and more like a game show with guests and ideas and stuff. I feel like I could do pretty good on Doug Loves Movies. That's a movie game show kind of thing. I like the idea too that you don't actually win. It's like Hollywood Squares, so you don't win. You win for somebody else. That's cool. I kind of like that. I got a bike. It's just sitting in here staring at me. I got to tell you, it's a little small. I'm uncomfortable on it. It was free though, I think, so somebody gave it to me, and it's in good shape and everything. But I don't know, man. I don't know. It's rough. My last bike, the bike that got stolen, was the most comfortable, most excellent bike that I've ever had in my life. So this one has a lot to live up to, and it's not. It doesn't feel like it's up to the challenge. You know, I might have to sell it. I might have to maybe Angela could ride it or something at some point. But it's one of those ones it's shaped all weird. It's got the spring in the middle and stuff. I'm not doing that too well. I'm not too well into it. It didn't feel like it helped me get home any faster today. It felt like it might have taken a little bit longer than walking, actually. I was definitely more uncomfortable, that's for sure. So that's what I'm talking about here. Sometimes things seem like they're there to help out. But in fact, the only way they're helping out is in the expectation that they'll help out. They're not actually doing anything. So like I walk to work. It's a half an hour to get there, half an hour to get back every goddamn day. And then somebody's like, hey, dude, you want this bike? I got this bike. And I'm like, fuck, yeah, that'll make that walk like 5 minutes, or it'll turn that walk from half an hour to like 10 minutes. And that's great because I need that extra 20 minutes to stare at the floor in the morning. So, yes, that would be awesome. And so the bike shows up and I'm like, cool, this is going to solve all my problems. And then I get on it and it's like, oh, this hurts my back, it hurts my ass, it hurts my knees. It's too small. It's a good bike, but it's much too small for me because I'm a very large, very fat man. And so what do I do at that point? What do I do at that point? Do I just keep doing it, keep riding it, be like, okay, let's get used to this? Or do I say, look, this doesn't work for me, I'm going to move on. I'm gonna either go back to walking, I'm going to try to find another bike, do what I want to do. That's what I think. I think that you got to know when to move on, even if something appears like it's going to help out. If it's not really helping out, then maybe it'll help somebody else out. That's what I think about podcasts. If I'm like, hey, this looks like a good podcast, or this movie looks pretty good, or whatever, and then I get there and it's not the thing, it's not vibing with me, or just like with a podcast, like you've been listening for a long time and suddenly it's not vibing. It's like, all right, we'll move on. We'll go find a different one and let this one be, And so if you were scouring the internet and you're like, I need a podcast that's going to try to make life make sense, but through the lens of Face Off, the classic 1997 thriller starring John Travolta and Nicolas Cage and Matt Ross and Margaret Cho and a whole shitload of other people. I need to know. I need to find the unified theory of everything, but only through the lens of that classic John Woo action film, and through the repetitive torture of some schlub in Spokane, Washington, just watching the movie over and over again and complaining about it nonstop. I need that. That's what I need. And suddenly after just tons of satisfying, excellent episodes where just exactly that was happening. Exactly that. Searching for the meaning of existence, all the while complaining about the trip to get there, all through the lens of Face Off. It just suddenly turns into something else. Just complaining for no reason. There's no Face Off involved anymore. There's nothing happening anymore. It's just some dude. It's just some schlub who's jabbering in his extra bedroom that costs a couple $100 extra a month and has never been used for anything. But this is the only apartment that would rent to us because we were living in an RV for years before that and didn't have any addresses or rental history, and the rental history before that wasn't great, and the credit's not all that great, and they just actually wanted the credit check money so they could pocket it, and they didn't really run it. They just thought we were okay people, so it didn't really matter much. And then we couldn't really afford the apartment, but still it was the only one that called us, so we were like, well, fuck it, I guess we're gonna have to try to afford this apartment, try to afford the apartment, even though it's 3 goddamn floors up. It's right across the street from Needle Park, where there's just, it's not Needle Park, I just called it Needle Park because there's fucking needles all over the place no matter what time of year it is. And that's cool though, it's all good, everybody's got to get by, and I'm fine with that. I just don't want to have my dog step on a needle. One of them I wouldn't mind, but the other one I don't want him to. I don't want her to. I want her to survive. I'm terrified of that, man. My dog dying. This book that I read just recently was, okay, so hold on, let's pause on that. If you came here looking for one thing, and then this podcast took a left turn and morphed into another thing, then maybe you take a step back. Take a step back and say, this is not enjoyable for me. There's no part of this that is good. And so I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to let this thing be, because I'll keep trucking. I'll keep on, I'll keep on doing it. I'm going to skip a few weeks here and there. I'll keep doing it though, and doing it. And then maybe later, when we both matured a little bit and we both sort of gone through some things, we come up a little bit, then maybe we'll get back together, and it'll be sweeter for the parting, We'll be, what's the word? We'll be more, we'll have our edges and our prickles shaved off more so that we fit more of what we're trying to do. It just makes more sense later on. Maybe right now it doesn't make any sense, but then maybe later you come back and you're like, no, this still sucks. It's fine. You don't even have to. There's so many things. Oh, there's so many things in life that we don't actually have to do, but it feels like we do. Fuck, man. So many goddamn fucking things all the time. I've been trying to really take stock of those things and make sure that what I'm doing is the thing that sort of, I don't want to say that has to be done or that needs to be done, but it's a thing that I'm drawn to. Even if it's something mundane like doing the dishes or something like that, if I'm not drawn to it at that moment, then why the fuck do it? I get like eventually it's going to become a problem, but if it's not the problem, it's not a problem in the moment. It's not even on the verge of becoming a problem. I'm just not drawn to it. Then why do it at that moment? Why not just wait a little while, and maybe the problem sort of nearing will be the impetus to move me forward, and that'll be the thing that's drawing me to it, and I'll be like, well, it's time obviously now to do the dishes. It wasn't 20 minutes ago, but now it looks like a potential problem on the horizon, and I want to avoid that problem by taking care of these dishes right now. So on that note, like, I've been trying to fit stuff in a little bit here and a little bit there. I don't know what my relationship with time is, but it feels like my relationship with time and my relationship with money are sort of the same thing. I don't know how to get more of them. I know sort of how to get more time, but it's not more. It's just different. It's more alone time, not at work, which is weird. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna have to switch. I'm gonna have to switch here pretty soon. If I do end up going back, I am gonna go back and do stand up in January. It's just I'm gonna have to switch my whole life around to do it. So it feels sort of like maybe I'm not gonna do that, but because everything sort of feels pretty all right now. But that's the only constant thing in life, is everything is constantly fucking changing. So it's like, I don't know, maybe it won't. I like that idea. I like the idea of having a deadline, and then that deadline just passing and it's going. It's like if you got student loans and they're like, you got to contact us by the 5th of January or we're going to start getting weird about your loan, dude. And then you're like, oh man, it's August right now. I got so much time. And then December rolls around. You're like, oh shit, New Year's is coming up. I better call the day after New Year's. And then you wake up and it's the 6th of January and you're like, fuck, I just missed that. And then you're like, maybe if I call now, it'll be cool. But then like 6 months later, it hasn't happened. But then you think about it and you're like, nah, fuck them. Fuck those student loan cunts, man. I'm not paying them shit. They can eat it raw. And that's a good feeling, you know. It's like, it's been 6 months. If I can survive 6 months, then I can just survive my whole life. You're gonna garnish my wages? I doubt it. I'll quit that job. Don't like it anyway. Anybody, you guys, anybody out there got a job that they really love? Or like, have you ever had a job that you really love that wasn't more than, or that was more than just pursuing money? And then the money's just spent before you make it, you know? That's what I feel like is we're doing all right. Like we're living paycheck to paycheck, but it's almost making it from paycheck to paycheck, which is nice because it used to be the day after we got paid, it was gone. Everything was gone. We were broke again until payday 2 weeks or a week or whatever later. And that was every single payday. And it was like, fuck, man, pawning stuff and borrowing and trying to scrape by and everything. But now it's like we run out of money like 4 or 5 days before payday. And that's pretty nice. That's like, all right, cool. We can squeeze through 4 or 5 days. That's pretty good, you know? And so we're working up to where it's like, you know, where that money, it's still there. It's like, oh, the money is still there. Cool. We made it through with 57 cents. And the new paycheck came in. Bank account still had money in it. It wasn't negative. That's good. That's a good feeling. I don't mind that. I don't mind that feeling. Like, but Angela sometimes asks me, like, if I had a job that paid really well, do I think I would like it? And I was like, I don't think so. Not just because it pays really well. I mean, maybe if it paid extravagantly. The most I've ever been paid was by some asshole who had a moving company. And so what it was no matter what, if you came in to work with this guy, and it wasn't like a job, it was just like he would call you the day before, and no matter what, if you came in and work with this guy and you worked for 2 hours, it would give you $100 bill. And so the longest I ever worked in a day was 4 hours, and I got $100 bill for that 4 hours. So, and the shortest I ever worked was about 2 hours. I got $100 bill. So it was like, I never went over to where it was like 10 hours. And I was like, oh shit, $100 bill. That's $10 an hour. That's still okay, I guess, you know, under the table. It's still all right. So I never went long like that to know what he would do when it was a longer day, which is probably exactly what he do, give you $100 bill. So the most I ever made was about $50 an hour one day. So two hours. That's about it at a job. And I didn't like that job. It was unfulfilling. It was hard. That guy was a real prick. I think that guy might have been the biggest asshole I've ever met in my life. That's a weird thing, you know? It's all on a spectrum. So you met some cool people. We met some assholes. And one person in another person's life is the biggest asshole they've ever met. And it's crazy because that guy might not be such an asshole anymore. Like on somebody else's list, I might be the biggest asshole that they have ever met in their entire fucking life. And all of that could be based off of maybe 2 or 3 interactions, maybe even one. My interactions with this guy, it was only like I only worked with him maybe 7 times. So I've only ever met that guy 7 different times and worked with him for several hours at a time. But he takes the place in my head as one of the biggest just assholes that I ever had to deal with. There was another dude that worked with him. He had he was older. He was probably in his 60s, and he was a cowboy kind of guy, but like not like that. How do I put it? Not like a long, lean, like gangly sort of Clint Eastwood kind of cowboy guy. Not like that, but like one of those guys that's got real super tight pants and then this big, huge barrel chest and big shoulders and stuff, and a big face, you know, like a big Frankenstein kind of face, like this just big old head on his shoulders. And and he had this like, so he dressed like kind of cowboy, jeans and boots and flannel, tucked in flannel and all that stuff. And he had this hair. It was like a feathered. It wasn't like a mullet, but it was. It was like a Kenny Rogers mullet. You know what I mean? It's not like a fucking. It wasn't a cheap mullet, I guess is what I would say. It was like this was a hairstyle. This thing was styled. This was a stylist mullet. Like he went and got this shit took care of. And so this guy, and it was like feathered up too, like real blonde, platinum-y kind of and shit. And this guy had the greatest voice I've ever heard. And I asked him about it. I was like, what do? You got to do something with that voice, right? And he was like, oh, yeah, I do. And I can't do his voice. He had this like real, like I can't do it at all. It had kind of a southern twang to it. And it was real. It was nice. Like it was deep. Like I'm trying to do a deeper voice than I have right now on the microphone. Like it was sort of like this, except for it had this real nice bottom end quality that I can't reproduce. And what I mean by that is it wasn't like the way, like when I try to go low, it just sounds stupid, but when you meet somebody that's got an actual real like low, smooth sort of voice, it's like, God damn, that is weird. It's at a whole different register, like it affects you different, where you're like, that person is cool as fuck, even if they're not, even if they fucking suck. It's something about that. I've heard like kids, like baby kids will respond better to their dad sometimes because the dad typically has a lower, bassier voice. I've had that with the dogs sometimes. Like if I use a lower voice on them, they sort of seem to understand better what I'm trying to get at, But hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. I had to run. My front door just flew wide open, so I was sitting here for God knows how long with the front door just wide open, breeze flying in, leaves, ducks and birds and stuff. Anyway, this cowboy dude, he had this super crazy deep voice. Look it up online. Look up natural deep voices, man. People, it's so weird. Look up like smooth ass country deep voices. I bet there's some good examples on there. Country ass dudes. But anyway, he ran some sort of like karaoke or some sort of thing, But it was like, this guy has got like, fuck, man. Some people got a cool ass voice, And it was like, fuck, that guy's got a cool ass voice. But he agreed that this other dude was a total asshole too. And he was way older than me. And he had a cool ass voice, so I mean that's pretty good. That's some pretty good people calling this dude a prick, calling him an asshole. I mean, he didn't deny it. He said, "I'm a real bastard. I'm gonna be real hard to work with, but I pay well, and I buy lunch." And that was his whole thing. He had just gotten out of prison or something like that. And man, it showed. Holy shit. That's crazy. What's weird is he could have been a stand-in for this dude that I used to know who lived, this is going to sound a little bit weird, but who lived in a camper trailer out behind one of my best friend's houses growing up. He lived out there. His name was Greg. He probably still does. I don't know. Who knows, man? If you're out there, Greg, just, I don't know, dude. What's going on? What are you up to, man? But this guy I worked with in Arizona could have been a stand-in for Greg, or Greg could have been a stand-in for him, or it could have been Greg. I don't really know, man. It's weird though. That happens a lot because I moved from Washington, all over Washington, to Florida, to Arizona, and I meet people and I'm like, fuck, this dude is just like this other dude. It's like they could have just swapped these dudes out. It's just it's a different character, but the same actor, That weirds me out, man. Is there just only so many faces out there, so many different body types? They got to have the same person, or do I attract those type of people? I know what type of people I'm attracted to, and I have to consciously work against it, but I'm attracted to fucking crazy people, insane people, dude, insane people. That's why this relationship with Angela is a little bit different, because I think we were a little bit attracted to the craziness that we had going on, but we've stuck it out and we worked out our craziness together and stuff. And so now we're crazy together, which is pretty cool. That's the way to that's the way to do it. It's not easy, but it is definitely one way to do it. I'm happy to have done that and to continue to do that and stuff. So, but I've seen it in myself, man. It's like if I see somebody who's a little fucking nutty. This dude here in town, Phil Kopsinski's a comic. He's real good, real funny dude, but he does characters. And within the first couple of months that I was going to open mics over at the club, he did this one character who was like this crazy guy who just got out of jail for burning somebody's house down or something like that. It was his whole crazy backstory, but the character was just fucking batshit insane. You know, he was like spazzy and weird and all this stuff. And he ended his set with, he was looking for some people to be in his band and all this stuff. He had a gig lined up, but some dude wouldn't play in his band because he lost his feet in a car accident or some shit like that. It was fucking crazy. He's got a book. I guess it's in the book called Comedy with Friends. I think it's out there. Phil Kopsinski. Trying to figure out how to spell that shit right after you try to figure out how to spell Schoonover. But I think that bit, that sketch or whatever is in there. But he did that at an open mic, and I had to literally like restrain myself with my hands on the table to stop myself from saying, "Hey man, let's get this band thing going, dude." Let's fucking get it started. I can play guitar, I can play drums, let's fucking rock, man. Because it was just the time, like he had manufactured Phil, who is a talented gem of a human being. He had I don't know why I laughed so hard after that. It was just a funny way of he had constructed just the right amount of crazy that it hit the frequency of what I like, what I try to put myself around to my detriment often. Is this kind of nutty, like kinetic, frenetic, sort of spazzy energy that I just fucking dig. You know, I think it's cool when somebody's just on the fucking brink of losing their mind. You know, it's like you have that unpredictability. It's like what I would like to be, and it is kind of how I get when I get manic. Is I get that way, like a little spazzy and weird and fast and crazy and stuff, and I don't give a fuck about what's going on. I do weird things. I was walking one time. I was drinking pretty heavy too, but I was walking one time with a couple of friends of mine. They're brothers, they're twins, Dustin and Adam. Some people know them. I'm sure they know themselves. I don't know if they're listening to this podcast, but it would be cool if they were. And they were like, "Oh shit, that's us." They're twins. I've met so many twins in my life too. What the fuck is up with that? I'm like a magnet for twins. Maybe it's that energy, because twins are pretty weird, man. They can be strange. They got some communication stuff. Some it sounds like what does that sound like? That sounds like a stereotype. But it feels right if you've met a whole bunch of different twins, because they always have some sort of weird, you know, communication. You want to call it telepathic kind of, or their own language or something like that, you know. And it's cool. I fucking dig it. You know, it's a weird, it's a trippy thing that you don't get anywhere else. It's kind of like I don't know, like. I wanted to say like real good balsamic vinegar, but that's not a good explanation. But like if you've ever had real balsamic vinegar, the bullshit that they sell in to fucking grocery store is garbage compared to it. And so that's what I mean is like there's some people like Phil and his character. It was like it was like craziness, but it was a what do you call that? It was a manufactured craziness. You know, he had created this character, and it was an awesome character, and he sort of caught that craziness, but it wouldn't be able to be sustained. And so with a lot of the twins that I've met, there's like a deep and genuine weirdness they're not necessarily weird people. They're not necessarily strange, like outlandish weirdos, you know, but they are deeply strange compared to other people, and sometimes it's way under there, but there's always something. I don't know, maybe it's like growing up that close with somebody that looks like you know, or just growing up at that age. I think a lot of siblings are kind of like that too. They get weird when they're around each other. You have those shared memories and stuff, and it's got to be even weirder to have shared memories with somebody who looks just like you. Those dudes, the Lucas brothers, fucking hilarious stand-up comics, and they do comedy together. You know what? Their stand-up was pretty good. Their show was fucking hilarious, though. I love that show, the Lucas Brothers Moving Company. That was fucking off the chain good. But one of their jokes is that you shouldn't do mushrooms with somebody who looks just like you, because it'll fuck with your head. I would agree with that. It's always one thing they say with psychedelics: you shouldn't really look in the mirror to get weird. You know, you could trip yourself out just looking in a mirror sober for long enough, or just looking at anybody's face. You start to get these crazy body horror stuff where the face just falls apart and it doesn't look like anything. It just becomes shapes, you know. You could start turning it into somebody else's face or into monsters and stuff. I like that. I think it's a cool thing. It's like if your own face, the reflection of your own face, is this crazy portal into some other dimension where you're not you're some other thing, and the thing looking in the mirror is the actual reflection of that thing, you know. That who's dreaming who. Arg. Anyway, back to this quick story. In a sort of manic phase, I was hanging out with Dustin and Adam downtown Spokane, and we were walking around in those parking lots and stuff. If you've ever been downtown, I guess in any city, there's just parking lots everywhere. Fucking parking lots. I heard just recently on that Adam Ruins Everything show about parking lots that if you took the parking, they take up like a ridiculous amount of the city space, you know. If you take that shit out, it's like 60% of the space in a city is just parking. Fucking gross, dude. What are we doing here? It's like we serve these cars. That's our first robot overlord, is the car. Jesus, what a nightmare those things are. Ugh. But you gotta have them because there's so many parking lots. You gotta have roads because there's so many cars, and there's so many cars because there's so many goddamn roads and parking lots. It's a cyclical cycle. That's an addiction. We gotta break that habit and go back to horses and buggies. One of the things on that show that they said on the Adam Ruins Everything, which is a pretty good show, I like that. He said that the road used to be where you walked. You just walked to the middle of the road, and you could meet up there, and you could hang out. It was the thoroughfare, you know. You could stop for a minute and talk and chat. It was a common space, and horses would walk by and stuff, but whatever, it's a horse. And then the cars started killing people, and so they're like, well, you better walk on the sidewalk, and then you're all split up. Now you can't really you gotta fucking defy death to get across this crazy road in order to talk to somebody on the other side. What kind of a relaxed conversation are you going to have after that? After surviving the harrowing trip across a busy intersection, you know, it's insane. And it's loud out there too. It's so fucking loud. Even just downtown, it's like, God damn it. These cars are so loud and stinky and disgusting. I work in a parking garage, dude. I work in a garage where you go park your car. That's all it does. You just park your car there and leave it. What? They don't even have places like, okay, so check this out. Check it, yo. Check it, yo. You can't go stand in the parking garage all day long. But you could go park your car in there. So what the fuck, man? Wouldn't it be in, so for like $10-$12 you could park your car in this parking garage all day long? Wouldn't it be cool if for like $10 or $12 you could just go stand in a place all day long, and like if you're, you know, you pick the spot, you could sit down there or something, you just sort of hang out, even if it was just concrete, you know, just have a spot where you could just chill, you could leave your stuff there for a little bit, you know, that kind of thing. But no, you can't do that because you're a person, you're a piece of shit. All we want is your car to sit here, and even if you're sitting in your car, that's going to be a problem. It's going to be a real issue because you might die because of all the shit in the air, you know, building up in this fucking building that's just filled with cars. So filled with cars. God damn it. So I hate cars, I hate money, and I hate something else. But pretty much everything. I guess the third thing would be everything else. Cars, money, and everything else. So one day, is getting trashed with Adam and Dustin, and we're walking down. I was all manic. I can look back and sort of see when I was manic, because I remember on this night I like chased after somebody trying to start a fight. Somebody in a car, so they yelled something out the window, and I chased down the street after them and stuff. But the thing, and that wasn't that unusual. That's like, oh yeah, whatever, you're gonna chase a car, who gives a fuck. That's not that crazy, you know. But we were walking, and there was this car parked there, and it was some kind of fucking super fancy car. I don't know cars. I don't know. It was a sports car, you know, 2 seats, big old, super design. It had that one of those crazy, like, one of those crazy paint jobs where it's like sort of purplish, but it looks like the sheen on oil floating in water, you know, that kind of thing. And it's all different colors and shiny, super shiny, really low to the ground, got big tires and stuff. And I don't know what it was, but it looked like a fancier Batmobile or something. Not like the new Batmobile, and definitely not like the old Batmobile, but like some pretend Batmobile that I'm making up in my head right now. It just looked crazy, like, I don't know. It was weird. It was like fucking definitely a super. Anyway, it doesn't even matter. But we all sort of saw this car at the same time, and they're like, "Fuck! Look at that thing. That's a crazy car." And we're just pissed drunk at this point. It's a crazy car, and I was like, "Yeah, that's pretty wild." And there was a big chunk of concrete, probably like 6-7 pound chunk of concrete. You know, pretty good size. Just sitting there because, you know, it was like one of those curbs that had sort of crumbled. It was just sitting there, and so I grabbed it and just flung it. Was standing right next to this car, flung it as high in the air as I could, and we're all just standing there. And this doesn't sound that crazy unless you were there. So it's this hand, you know, good hand-sized chunk of rock, and I grabbed it with both hands and just flung it straight up in the air as high as I possibly could. It probably went 20 feet. And so in that time, you know, it took like 2 seconds to get up there. We all had to realize what was happening. And what was happening was this 4, 5, 6 pound chunk of rock was going to start falling from 20 feet directly towards us, directly towards this car. Nobody knew where it was going to land. It was in the middle of the fucking night, so it's dark out and everything. And so within that, and we're all fucking pissed drunk again. So all of a sudden, and I know this doesn't sound that crazy, but try it. It is fucking, it was scary. Like instantly I was like, oh God, what have I done? And so, cause you have to recognize what's going on, and what was going on is suddenly this huge chunk of rock was falling from 20-25 feet in the air, 80, you know, 97 feet in the air. It's probably about 225 feet in the air, something like that. It was pretty high in the air, and it's falling all of a sudden towards us. We don't know where, we don't know what direction we should run, so we all just fucking, you know, instantly sober, like survival mechanisms kicking in, because one of us could literally die or be grievously injured in that. Like, I chose in that moment to put all three of us and this fucking idiot car in serious danger, like life threatening, fucking awful danger. And so we bolted, like we ran in all different directions, not knowing if we were just running right into the path of the rock, you know. But anyway, it didn't, nobody got hit. It just landed beside the car, probably like with about 2 feet away from the car, you know. But my intention, so that wasn't my intention, wasn't to scare the holy living shit out of us and put us all in mortal danger. My intention was to throw it up in the air and have it land on top of this car, because I thought that would be hilarious. And honestly, it would have kind of been hilarious, but maybe if I would have just thrown it right at the side of the car or something like that. But I wanted it to be, I wanted like that thrill, you know, that excitement. So this is what I'm talking about. Like when I get manic, my decision-making processes go off the rails and I make weird decisions in a split second and then live with the consequences of that, which are usually hideous. They're usually not great at all. I got really good at punching windows out, side windows, man. I could punch a window right out of a car. No problem. I barely even feel it. But just the right amount of don't give a fuck and a hard fucking tight fist and take that shit right out, you know? It's weird. But I don't do that shit anymore. I like kind of got it reeled in, but still sometimes I'll get off on a fucking tangent and go a little nutty, you know. It's usually got to do with food these days, but that's cool. And sometimes just talking shit, like, oh fuck, man, I'll start talking shit. I'll get on a weird thing about something like, oh, this guy pisses me off, and I'll be like, oh, fuck this motherfucker, and try to bury a motherfucker, you know. but that quality that caused me to decide in that second to put 2 of my best friends into mortal danger, and also this car in myself, fourthly, and myself into mortal danger and the danger of just massive destruction, was that decision. That energy that goes into a decision like that is the type of thing that I'm attracted to in people. And sometimes it's latent in somebody. They don't even know it's there. It just takes someone like me to like wheedle it out, to just see a few, you know, phrases and a few little encouragement in some direction. Oh yeah, you should definitely go confront that person about this thing. I know you don't want to, but I know you kind of want to. I mean, maybe just go talk to him a little bit, you know what I mean? That sort of thing. And that's a manipulation. I'm not really proud of that. I can manipulate people pretty good. That's why I don't really talk to people very much, is because I have a tendency to be manipulative without even recognizing it in myself, recognizing that it's happening. I'm just being a douchey manipulator, and it's not cool. It's not nice to do that to people, you know? It just isn't. You should, people should be straight with each other, and really just, yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say there. It's like I'm saying something that's super obvious. Like, people should be honest with each other and straight up with their intentions. That seems pretty easy. Like, oh yeah, no problem. We should all do that. That would be great. But it's not that easy. It's a little more difficult than that. And I'm not good at it. That's why I don't talk to people. That's my cure for it. I just don't talk to motherfuckers, because I have a tendency to get manipulative and fuck with people's lives, because I also think that's interesting. Seeing how shit unravels. Like, I think relationships are pretty gross. Like, I don't want to, yeah, it's like gross. You got a thing you're doing. Disgusting. I don't want to hear about it or be involved in it. Usually in any way. But sometimes I like to get involved in it to try to ruin things. Try to mess stuff up. So anyway, that's good. I like that. I've been able to sort of avoid that kind of energy. But it's basically just at the well, I don't know. There's fewer and fewer people these days with that type of like craziness, with that type of insanity. You know, when you think back to like the 80s and stuff or the 90s, it seemed like there was people that were nuts and it was okay. It was like, that's cool. That's their job in society, is to be crazy, you know, to be insane. But not anymore, really. Now it's like, you gotta toe the line, motherfucker. Like Kanye West, I'm sort of fascinated with this guy because he seems like the dumbest person on earth, but he's doing well. You know, he's making it pretty good. He's getting through. But like, what? He hasn't done anything horrible. He's just weird. But what I'm saying is, like, Kanye West in the 90s or in the 80s or something, it would have been fine. There would have been no, he would have been a fucking genius, you know, like, people call him a genius now, but he would have been universally lauded as a genius. There would have been no thing about, that's what I think of, like, when you think of somebody like Prince or Jim Morrison. I'm sticking with the music people here right now. So like, let's say Jim Morrison, let's say Prince, let's say somebody like who else am I thinking of? Maybe even like an Ozzy Osbourne or something. I think that's three different genres. Maybe Eazy-E, let's say Eazy-E too, you know, people that are sort of like lauded for what they did. It's like, oh yeah, they're cool, they did that thing, you know. If those people, when at the height of their careers, at the absolute pinnacle of their success, if Twitter was a thing, they would have been fucking getting fucked with, just like Kanye West is getting fucked with, you know. And I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing. I don't know. You gotta bring those weirdos down a little bit, but I'm saying, like, if Jim Morrison had a Twitter account, it would have been the corniest fucking thing in the world. I'm sure it would have been like the most ridiculous garbage, to fucking angsty teen garbage stuff. You know, it wouldn't have been some, you know what I mean? It would have been clever and well thought out and shit. Come on. It's like that's a crazy thing to have, this to allow to exist, is this crazy portal right directly into your head. You're like, here's my thoughts, and I thought about them enough to type them out, and now you're getting them wholesale. And then people are like, oh God, that was a bad thought. You're like, oh really? I thought it was okay, but I guess it wasn't. I guess it was bad. And then in the past, in the 80s and stuff, 90s and whatever, you used to be able to just have those thoughts in your head. That's the weird thing, is somebody can act like they're not something, and they totally are on the inside. And the problem is that's all right. People have been doing it forever. I mean, it's not great, but it's all right. You can do it. You can think whatever the fuck you want to think. I had a friend who we were sitting there one day. This is when we were younger. We were sitting there one day, and one of my dad's friends, he's an older dude. He's probably in his 30s at the time, you know, which was like ancient to us. We're in our teens, 16, 17 years old. We were sitting there one time out in front, and my buddy's aunt walked by, and this dude was there hanging out with us, talking for some reason. I don't know what the fuck this 30-something-year-old dude was doing there. But he was sitting there hanging out with us, and my friend's aunt walked by, and he was like, and when she left, he was like, God damn, she's a foxy lady. That's not what he said, but that was what he was trying to get across. He's like, she's a very handsome woman. that is a very respectable female form right there, is what he was saying. He was like, I would like to settle down and start a meaningful relationship with that intelligent, capable, enticing, funny, just excellent specimen of the female species. I would really like to propagate. I'd like to. He thought she was attractive, is what I'm trying to say. And that wasn't a secret, because she was attractive. And Brian and my buddy, I said his name, Brian. My buddy was like, "Yeah, that's my aunt. That's my aunt." And the older dude. I don't know why he was there. I don't even remember who he was, but he was like, he didn't skip a beat. He was like, your head is your own space, man. You can do whatever you want in there. And so basically he was saying, you can fantasize about your aunt all you want inside your head. Nobody's gonna know unless you tell them. And that's what, and I'm not saying that's right, but he is right on that point, that you can think whatever the fuck you want to inside your head. You don't have to put it on the internet. It doesn't have to be there. But it feels like it kind of does these days. Like, God damn it. Why would I just have this thought for myself? I'm talking right now. This is a podcast. I'm putting this podcast out on the internet right now. It's like hundreds and hundreds of uncut thoughts, just thousands of thoughts just pouring out of my mouth. I'm not even thinking about what I'm saying. I have no idea what I was saying 5 minutes ago. Zero concept of what I have said in the whole, hour or so that it's been since I started talking. And I'm going to load it onto the internet without editing it or without listening to it. And I'm going to load it, and then I'm going to listen to it. And that's that's how this shit. And I'm like, maybe Kanye West shouldn't tweet. You can have all the thoughts you want, just don't put them out there. Derp, here's all my thoughts for the day. I'm just going to slit my wrists and let them pour out into this microphone like a fucking dingleberry. So the hypocrisy, what I'm talking about here is the hypocrisy. It is just mind-boggling. Like, what am I even thinking? I think it's this, I have a platform, but a lack of any kind of reach or anything. I mean, I don't know. That's weird because we got the same reach. Me and Kanye, we got the same tools. Just one of us is doing a way better job at using those tools to succeed. I'll leave it up to you to decide which, but I feel for him. I don't really particularly care for his music, especially recently. Holy fucking shit, it's gotten awful. But I do give him a chance. I don't know why I'm talking about Kanye West in a heartfelt manner here. Just like to see people succeed and do well and eventually crumble. I'm into that. I'm attracted to chaos and I'm attracted to conflict. But I don't want it for myself. I just want to be on the outskirts of it. You know what I'm talking about. I think we're out of here. I think we're done. I think we're done for the day. I don't know what was accomplished here. We fucking sure as shit didn't talk about Face Off just at all. I don't think at all. There was a little bit at the beginning, but it was only tangentially correct or connected to Face Off. I never thought about how close the words corrected and connected are. It's just different middles there. They're pretty much the same word. Correct, connect. It's interesting. It's like I was going to talk about that book but I can't remember what. Oh, that's what it was. Holy shit! That was a long time ago. But I was talking about my dog, who just right now is trying to figure out how to get out of this room. She's like, I have had enough of this bullshit. I need to get the fuck out of here. But there's a bike and some. You ever go to say something and you're like, that's gonna sound different than what it really is? I was gonna say there's a bike and several bags of garbage that are blocking her way, but that's different than what it really is. There is a bike and there is a couple of bags of garbage, but that's the spot where they sit when that's the transitory spot. You know, the bags have been filled, they've taken out of the can, and now they're sitting in the hallway, which is sort of outside of this room, and then they're going to go to the big garbage can, and then the big garbage truck is going to take those and a bunch of other cans of garbage and take them to a landfill, because that is something that exists in this world right now. It's just a huge place where all kinds of garbage goes. Oh man, it's got to be rough working in a landfill. Real rough. I don't think I can handle it. I get a little queasy at the garage sweeping stuff up, you know. That's terrible. Working at where it's all garbage. All the garbage goes here. You've got to deal with all of this garbage. Well, that's what I was talking about. Man, I get all fucking creeped out. So this is a thought that I've recently had, and it weirds me out. It's that my dog is going to die, and she's like 8 years old, and she's going to die. And I'm going to have to deal with that. And I'm like, it's not good. That doesn't feel good at all. Every time I think about it, I'm like, ooh, no. I don't want to think about that. I need to push that to the side and try to avoid that thought pattern, you know? And that's rough, because you're supposed to push into those thoughts. The ones that you want to push to the side, you're supposed to push right in to the center and find out what it is that makes you so uncomfortable about it, you know? I've just had so many pets that died, and it feels like this would be the one that's going to be an issue, you know? I don't know. Frodo, when he died, he was a Chihuahua. He was real old. He died last year, and that was rough. But fuck, man. Pugs aren't supposed to die. Pugs are supposed to be just immortal fluff balls, you know, just little dabs of whipped cream that never cease to exist. They're always there, just forever. But she's growing up, you know. She's getting older. She's got more gray hair. She's kind of got this Hitler mustache going on, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. It's like her hair is graying all over her muzzle, so her muzzle's like white now, except for this just perfect strip of black right underneath her nose, and it's very Hitler-esque looking. But it's not hair per se. It's like a lack of hair, but it's black, and it's just straight Hitler mustache. You know, that's a pretty bold statement. There's not a lot of people since Hitler that tried to pull that off, and honestly, not a lot of people before Hitler. You know, there was Charlie Chaplin that was working that mustache, but other than that, the only other person I can think of is Michael Jordan. Tried to give it a shot in those underwear commercials from a ways back, and it didn't work. I didn't like it. It was like, dude, you got everything else. You need the Hitler mustache too? Seriously, dude. Stop it, bro. Stop that, yo. You gotta quit it. I'm not gonna tell Michael Jordan what to do, but kind of on that, if he would have asked, I would have said, you don't want that. It's not a good look, and it kind of says more than you could possibly say about it. So I think if you have a Hitler mustache, you're instantly on the defensive. You got to be like, look, the reason I have this mustache is this. It's not like you're going to walk in a room and people are going to be like, cool, look at you with your ideas in your head. As you instantly walk in a room, if anybody says anything about it, it's going to be, what in the fuck? And you're going to instantly have to be like, hey, you know what? Okay, I know it looks weird, but I got. Did anybody do that with Michael Jordan? Was anybody, when he came out of the bathroom that morning, was anybody like, dude, no, bro, what the fuck? And then hear his explanation and be like, still no. It's just objectively a pretty bad look, but subjectively, contextually, it's a really bad look. Like the ethereal weight around that mustache is pretty heavy. Pretty fucking heavy. So what I'm trying to say is that my pug has a Hitler mustache, but I still don't want her to die. Like it just sounds like it was a horrifying thing, and it's crazy because like if I think about Angela dying or one of the kids, Alex or Audrey or my mom or somebody dying, it feels too big. Like it's not a real thing. Prima Petunia, my pug, when I think about her dying, it's like it could happen at any second. She could get run over. She could just keel over. You know, it could happen at any second, and it would probably destroy me for at least a while. And I think I would be like, I'll be fucked up forever. But the issue is not that it could happen at any second, but that it is definitely going to happen, and I'm going to have to deal with it. And it's fucking crazy. In this book that I just finished, Here I Am, by Jonathan Safran Foer. Jonathan Safran Foer. It ends with it doesn't end. Okay, I'm not gonna say what it ends with, but there's an old dog in the book, you know. There's an old dog in the book, and it worked me over. I was like, fuck this old dog. I have to deal with an old pug. I saw this pug on Instagram one time, and they had his back legs stopped working, and so they built a sling. It's like a scarf thing, and they put it around his belly, and then held his butt up, and he just walked with his front legs, and that's how they took walks. And I was like, fuck, I'm gonna end up doing that. I just know it, and I will do it. And I'm just it's too much. I think that after these two dogs die, when I'm like 55 years old, we just got a dog. He's brand new. He's like a year and a half old now. He's going to live for another 12 years, 13 years, you know. I'm going to be well and you know, on my way to the 50s and stuff. And when they die, I think they'll have to take a break from animals, because it's a lot. It's a lot of psychic pressure, you know. It's crazy, you know. But that's the thing, is it balances, because they're little sweetie pies, you know. They do their little snuggling. They have their personalities. They eat and shit constantly. I don't know. It balances out, but it's like when you're looking at the dog and you're like, man, this dog is going to bring me years of joy, and I am going to bring this dog years of joy. We're going to have a relationship. We're going to get to know each other. I'm going to make this life good for this dog. And it seems like all the good stuff outweigh, and you're like, and then someday it'll die, and that'll be okay. It outweighs. But then when it's like all the good stuff is happening and it's sort of routine and it's regular, then the bad stuff sort of starts to weigh, and it's like, oh geez, I don't know, they're gonna die someday. This is too much. I can't handle it. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. Hey, on that cheery dead dog note, I like to say thanks for spending some time. Thanks for hanging out. Like, and I want to say too, not to get too sappy, it might be the dead dog talk or whatever, but like, when I'm saying, thank you, it comes across cheeky. I might sound like I'm just taking a piss or whatever, and I'm like jokey, hey, thanks for doing this. Hey, look at this weird thing that we're doing here today. Look at what's going on here. But here's the caveat on all that stuff. When I say thank you for hanging out, for listening to this here podcast, I'm saying it sincerely. Like, I sincerely thank you for doing that. There's so many other things you could be doing. There's so much other media you could be consuming and stuff, and you didn't. You're like, hey, I'm going to do this today, and thanks for doing that. I at the same time that I'm trying to do quality, something of quality, or something genuine, I'm also trying not to try to do anything. So I'm trying not to make this. I'm trying to make this into something genuine without trying to make it something that it doesn't want to be. You know what I mean? Because this is me doing this and you doing that, but there's some other weird connection there. That's some other third thing, And so what I'm saying is that when I say thank you for listening, I say that sincerely, and I say it with no expectation of that continuing. If this relationship, I think we started here, if this relationship has run its course, no guilt, just you can step out and step back in at any time. We're not here doing something that is any different than what it is, and what it is some weird fucking creepo gibbering in his spare bedroom in Spokane, Washington, while his pug snores at his feet. And then you're probably a person at work or something, and you're listening to sort of pass the time. And if those parameters aren't being met or whatever, just know that hearing these words, it means I'm talking to you. Thank you for listening sincerely. And there's no expectation of future listening, but you're always welcome as long as I'm here. So that was very sappy, but take it and know that it's true. And feel free to reach out. You can Derek Schoonover at yahoo.com if you want to send an email. Messenger is pretty good, I guess. I don't know, though. I haven't been getting on Facebook at all, so that's rough. I still put up YouTube videos, so you could leave a YouTube comment or something like that if you want, and that would be another way of contacting me with ideas, complaints. You could, just anything. You want to just say something. If you watch Face Off and you have any new fucking ideas about Face Off, that'd be cool. So anyway, hey, thanks again, sincerely. Have a great fucking day. Just get out there and let the day just sort of, push you around like a lizard in a big old bucket, and with the finger of God just shoving you to and fro, and there's a wall that you're trying to climb out of, but it's too slippery and you can't, so you're just checking out the bottom of the bucket and being like, well, I guess this is where I live now. And that's what it is. So have one of those kind of days. Have a good old day, and we'll see and hear you and talk, and I'll be doing this next time. Right on. All right, keep it real. Bye.